Madison Square Garden was dressed for a coronation, not a war. The lights were bright, the crowd was loud, and Teofimo Lopez walked to the ring like a man already counting the victory. Unified lightweight champion, the man who dethroned Lomachenko, the face of boxing's future. Across from him stood George Kambosos Jr., undefeated but dismissed, labeled a mandatory inconvenience rather than a real threat. The odds told the story before the bell even rang. Lopez was a 13-1 favorite, expected to end the night early, violently, and without complication. Even Lopez himself promised it. First-round knockout. Bet on it. That wasn't trash talk. That was belief bordering on certainty. But boxing has never cared about predictions. From the opening seconds, Lopez came out hunting, loading up on power shots, swinging with intent rather than patience. Kambosos didn't retreat. He didn't shell up, he didn't survive. He met fire with timing, movement, and something far more dangerous than power, conviction. Every step Lopez took forward, Kambosos was already preparing the answer. The tension was immediate, the pace was reckless, and then in the blink of an eye, the impossible happened. A short, perfectly timed overhand right cracked through Lopez's aggression. The champion stumbled, the balance vanished. Teofimo Lopez hit the canvas in the very round he promised would end the fight. Madison Square Garden went silent. The script burned. The confidence that filled the arena seconds earlier evaporated into shock. This wasn't supposed to happen. Not here, not now, not to him. But boxing doesn't ask permission before it flips reality upside down. And from that moment on, this fight stopped being about dominance. It became about survival. Lopez sprang back to his feet furious, embarrassed, and desperate to erase what had just happened. Champions aren't supposed to get dropped by underdogs. Superstars aren't supposed to lose control of the narrative. And Teofimo Lopez fought the rest of the round like a man trying to undo time itself. He threw bombs. He swung with bad intentions. And he landed clean, heavy right hands that would have folded most fighters. But George Kambosos didn't fold. He absorbed the shots, steadied himself, and fired back every single time. This wasn't reckless courage. It was calculated defiance. Kambosos understood something in real time that Lopez didn't. When a fighter is hunting the knockout, the openings get wider. Lopez's power was real, but his patience was gone. His feet slowed. His breathing changed. Meanwhile, Kambosos grew stronger with every exchange. His jab started snapping Lopez's head back. His counters landed sharper. Mentally, something dangerous began to happen. Lopez wasn't just fighting Kambosos anymore, he was fighting expectation. The crowd expected destruction. His corner expected dominance. He expected control. Instead, he was in a firefight with a man who refused to respect his power. Between rounds, confusion replaced confidence. Conflicting instructions poured from the corner. Finish him. Slow down. Take your time. The champion listened to none of it. Kambosos, on the other hand, stayed disciplined. Jab first, counter second, move third. He wasn't trying to win every second, he was trying to win the fight. And as the rounds piled up, it became clear this wasn't a fluke knockdown. This was a challenger growing into the biggest night of his life, while the champion slowly realized this night wasn't following the plan. The longer it went, the more dangerous it became, not for Kambosos, but for Teofimo Lopez. By the middle rounds, this fight transformed into something deeply uncomfortable for Teofimo Lopez. Every punch he threw came back at him. Every combination he started, Kambosos finished. It was like fighting a reflection that refused to break. Lopez tried switching stances, tried loading up even more, tried forcing moments that weren't there, and boxing punished him for it. Kambosos controlled distance with a stiff, educated jab, the most basic punch in boxing, executed at the highest level. Each jab disrupted Lopez's rhythm, snapped his head back, and set up the right hand that kept finding its mark. This wasn't about power anymore. It was about timing, conditioning, and belief. Lopez had expected the fight to be over early. Now he was deep into unfamiliar territory, breathing heavier, legs less responsive, frustration written all over his face. Kambosos, meanwhile, looked energized, talking, smiling, inviting exchanges. Every time Lopez landed something big, Kambosos answered immediately, refusing to let momentum settle. That response broke something psychologically. The champion began to hesitate. Hesitation is death in boxing. The crowd felt it. The commentators felt it. Even Lopez felt it. This wasn't the takeover anymore, this was a test. And the man everyone doubted was passing it. Blood began to appear. Damage accumulated. Kambosos never backed down. He pivoted, reset, and went right back to work. His corner emphasized the jab, simple, sharp, effective. Lopez's corner begged for urgency. But urgency without structure leads to mistakes. And mistakes were piling up. Round by round, the impossible edged closer to reality. The underdog wasn't just surviving, he was outboxing, outthinking, and outlasting the champion. The longer the fight went, the more it stopped being shocking and started becoming undeniable. The championship rounds arrived with both fighters carrying damage, exhaustion, and pride into the fire. Lopez finally found moments of success, massive right hands that rocked Kambosos, shots that reminded everyone why he was feared. For a moment, it felt like the fight might turn back in his favor. Kambosos stumbled. The crowd erupted. The danger was real. But once again, Kambosos refused to break. He steadied himself, tied up when needed, and returned fire with combinations that stole momentum right back. This is where fights are won not in highlights, but in moments of pain. Lopez wanted one punch to end everything. Kambosos wanted every second. Both men hit the canvas, both men bled, both men emptied the tank, but only one fighter stayed committed to the plan. Lopez hunted, Kambosos boxed. Lopez chased the finish. Kambosos controlled the ring. The champion's face showed disbelief. This wasn't supposed to be happening. This wasn't the opponent he prepared for. This wasn't the night he imagined. And yet here he was, fighting for survival while the challenger fought for destiny. The final rounds felt like time stretching. Every exchange mattered. Every jab counted. Every mistake carried consequences. Kambosos kept answering, kept circling, kept landing just enough to keep the fight in his control. The Australian crowd watching from the other side of the world could feel it. History was close, very close, and all Kambosos had to do was not give it away. Final bell rang with both men spent, battered, and unsure. Teofimo Lopez raised his arms briefly. Hopping power and moments had carried him through. George Kambosos Jr. stood calmly, breathing heavy, eyes locked forward, knowing he had just fought the fight of his life. The arena buzzed with uncertainty. This was no longer about hype, it was about reality. When the scorecards were read, tension filled the air. Split decision. And then the words that rewrote the lightweight division: new champion of the world. George Kambosos Jr. had done the impossible. The overlooked mandatory challenger had dethroned the unified king on boxing's biggest stage. The takeover had been overtaken, not by luck, not by chance, by preparation, timing, and unshakable belief. This fight became a reminder of why boxing will always be unforgiving. Power fades, confidence cracks, but discipline and heart endure. Teofimo Lopez learned the hardest lesson a champion can learn: no fight is easy, and no opponent is beneath respect. George Kambosos Jr. walked out of Madison Square Garden not just with belts, but with a legacy forged in defiance. This wasn't just an upset. It was a warning to every champion who believes the story ends before the bell rings. In boxing, belief doesn't care about odds, and on this night, belief shocked the world. Fight ended, but the damage to boxing's hierarchy was only beginning. In the hours after the decision, the shockwaves spread fast, fighters, analysts, and fans scrambling to explain what they had just witnessed. How did a 13-1 favorite fall on the biggest stage? How did a man so many overlooked walk away with every belt? The answer wasn't hidden in one punch or one round. It was buried in preparation, humility, and a refusal to believe the script written by others. George Kambosos Jr. didn't just beat Teofimo Lopez, he exposed the thin margin between dominance and downfall. This fight became a warning to every champion intoxicated by hype. Talent without discipline invites danger. Power without patience creates openings. Confidence without respect becomes a liability. For Lopez, the loss marked a crossroads. The aura cracked, the invincibility shattered. But boxing is cruel and honest. It takes nothing away without offering lessons in return. For Kambosos, this wasn't just a victory. It was validation for years of grinding in obscurity, sparring elites without credit, and carrying belief when no one else would.